dark a little bit, extremely illegal, so I figured I might as well get a video of the nice view with this vanilla sky going on here. It's pretty pretty. People taking pictures and stuff. Look at it. Yeah, pretty nice right now. Wish me luck. Crosse right here. So, for those of you that don't live in the area, this area is supposedly the area where, I mean, it's a few blocks away from the downtown area, right? And supposedly college kids are taking random walks down around here and somehow falling in the water and dying, or being killed or something like that. I mean, there's conspiracies about it, everything like that, but the fact of the matter is, anybody that grew up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, knows that the river is dangerous during the day, let alone at night. And especially the main channel. The main channel has what we know as a wicked current. This current, you know, people claim, you know, and maybe not just claims, but I've heard, you know, there's, you know, undertow and shit like that. To be honest, I've never really, like, said, hey, let's go swimming on the main channel before. I've never really ever thought to do that, nor have I ever in my whole life, even when I was in my 20s, like, you know, was down at the bars, bar time comes around and someone's like, hey man, let's go smoke some weed. Yeah, why don't we go walk down by the river? Never once. Never once. Out of all the times I was drinking downtown and out of all the times I smoked weed by the river, never once did I ever walk down here and do that. So that's why it feels rather, I don't know, menacing or insidious to local folks in this area, because everyone kind of knows. So the only factor that I definitely have thought about is obviously a college student that's not from here may not realize the threat and the danger that is the main channel current. And perhaps it's, you know, something that we're desensitized to because we live here and everything like that. And we don't think it's anything that, you know, I guess, it is beautiful, it is extraordinary, but I could see how somebody that had perhaps just moved into town or was new to the area would really want to, you know, get down here and, you know, take in the sights and check it out. And it might be something they want to do after getting drunk, you know, at 2, 3 in the morning. You know, maybe some random person says, hey, you're not from around here, let's take a walk down by the river. You know, that could be the case, or that same person could have, you know, bad intentions. And their whole plan could be potentially to, you know, hurt these people down by the river because they know how vulnerable people, you know, potentially can be, depending on if they're able to swim. And you know what, even the best of swimmers could potentially drown in this water, especially at night, especially with rocks. I mean, you hit your head, you might not know which way is up or down, and you know, you might swim the wrong way, meaning you swim down instead of up. I mean, that's something that can happen to folks, you know. Like I said, you know, you get hit in the head hard enough, you fall in the water, it's dark, the water is fucking gloomy and dirty. Well, it's muddy, not dirty. So my point is you know, it's a place that you can definitely drown. definitely die of it. As beautiful as it is, and as I was growing up as a young person, my parents definitely instilled in me that the river is a beautiful place to have a lot of fun, but it needs to be respected at the same time, and heavily respected. Safety first, like for real, safety first out here. And I still, to this day, I go out on the jet skis with people and they get annoyed with me because I just am like nonstop, throwing out tips about how you should be safe on the jet skis, how you should not be too close to one another when you're riding on the jet skis. I'm like the boater safety manual sometimes. My girlfriend especially gets very annoyed with me, and I understand, but I think people, especially as you get older, you kind of get set in your ways to the extent that you feel like you kind of know everything when it comes to being safe, at least. And someone trying to tell you like, hey, be safe around water, you're thinking to yourself, well, like, fucking obviously you can drown around water. I'm not stupid, I'm a grown-ass adult. But there's more to it than, hey, this is just water. The thing about the river, I learned, my dad always told me that the river changes. Every time you go out, it's going to be different. Never depend on it being the same as it was the last time you went out, because something will be different. Whether the depth will be higher or lower, maybe a log floated out into a middle area that you're used to cruising full speed right down the middle, and it happens to be a stump discovered right there or something like that, or just any type of obstacle that can fall into the water while you're away from the river is something to not be underestimated. The water level goes up and down, and sure, there's times when, like for instance today, I get used to the water being high, and then I'm able to go in certain areas that I normally wouldn't be able to go in. Sloughs and backwater and stuff like that, where normally I may not be so confident to go back there. But even when I know the water's high, I'm still cautious back there, because it's basically off-roading per se on your boat. You're off-roading. You're on territory that is not sanctioned by the DNR, or I don't know if that's fucking true, but I'm just saying that it's not in between the red and green buoys, I'll tell you that. Which means it's not the main channel, it's not a designated safe area to drive. So that's just an example. And I think, even the safest people, we still make mistakes out there. And 30 years of boating, I'm sure my dad could list off tons of different times where he's made a fatal mistake and hurt his boat or did something. But the bottom line is, so far nobody in his circle, or my circle for that matter, our family circle, has gotten hurt in 35 years of boating on the Mississippi River. And that's really what it's all about. Is the end of the summer comes and everybody is still intact and everyone's okay, no one got hurt. That's what we strive for across Wisconsin. And I think when these deaths happen like this, when we had this recent 22-year-old young person fall in the river, or whatever happened to them, if a murderer pushed him in, whatever happened, but it brings it shines a all new light back onto how important safety is in the waterways on the Mississippi River. And I think, I don't want to say that I'm not at all glad anything like that happened, but at the very least, the positive that came out of it, if I can say one positive of a young person falling in the water and dying like that in La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's going to be that, we're midway through summer, people get a little bit extra comfortable with the river and how things have been going, and they've been having fun. We're past the 4th of July, and this is kind of a wake-up call for the whole city to focus and pay attention when you're out here, to put the beer down, don't get too fucked up when you're out here, that kind of thing. And remember that it's easy to lose someone. This is a real thing. And I'm not sure why I just started doing this vlog here, but it was kind of as I was driving past Riverside Park in La Crosse, Wisconsin here, coming back from the deep south side of which I got caught a little bit in the dark, and I decided to just cut back because it's safer. And it's kind of, ironic that I'm sitting here giving everyone safety tips while I'm illegally driving at night with no lights, like a total dumbass. But I'm mindful of it, and instead of driving fast in the dark, I am driving slow. I am mindful of what's in front of me and behind me. And that brings me to a very scary story, one of which happened to my mom and dad. They were putting like we are now on their Bayliner. The boat was called Hakuna Matata, and they were, putting like we are now, and a drunk driver came up behind them, probably going 30, 40 miles an hour, and at the very last second, my dad cranked down on the throttle and whipped the steering wheel hard left, and just in the nick of time got out of the way, and this boat literally clipped the back of their boat. And if he hadn't moved in that second, that boat would have crashed right on top of them and killed them in an instant. Totally would have. And that's, that was probably the closest encounter that I think that my family has ever had on the river. And I'll never forget them coming home and telling me about that. It's just incredible story. Incredible that my dad's instinct to put the pedal to the metal in that last half second to save his life, my mom's life, and two of their friends. Yeah, man. So thank God nothing like that has happened to me, but my parents have consistently been on the river more than I have. There's been several summers where I didn't live in La Crosse, and of course I wasn't out on the river during those times. So as you can see, here comes a boat. They got their light on and everything. I should really retake motor safety so I remember the stern light and the bow light and all that kind of shit. But anyway, thanks for watching. We're almost home here. Take care.